Hey, nappy friend, welcome back to our nappy little club. You're home now, and we saved your spot. Tonight, we travel back to a time of stone walls, echoing chants, and the gentle, rhythmic scratch of a quill on parchment. Imagine the air, cool and smelling of old books, beeswax, and a hint of distant coming rain. You can almost feel the cool, worn stone beneath your fingertips and see the flickering candlelight dance across intricate gold leaf, casting long, sleepy shadows. It's a world away from our own, a time when the loudest sound for miles might be the monastery's bell, or the clang of a blacksmith's hammer. A time you probably wouldn't survive, to be fair, what with the gruel for breakfast and a distinct lack of Wi-Fi. But here, in this cozy space, you're perfectly safe and relaxed. So, before your eyelids get too heavy, if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, tap that like button and subscribe to keep our sleepy adventures coming. After all, nobody wants to miss out on history, right? And for our little community ritual, feel free to gently type in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. It's a wonderful way to feel connected to our global nappy family. So, dim your lights, tune into the soft, comforting fan hum, and ease gently into tonight's journey, because you're now officially in Nappy Community. You're not just listening, you're an essential part of our Nappy family, where every night is soothing, special, and yours. You're safe, valued, and always welcome. Your name is Thomas, and your world, for now, is a single drop of ink. You lean forward, your breath a slow, steady rhythm you've learned to control, a quiet partner to the delicate work of your hands. You are an illuminator, a painter of holy words, and this page, a new psalter for the Abbey, is your sanctuary. The scriptorium is quiet, filled only with the soft rustle of pages and the gentle scratching of your fellow monks' quills. This is your peace. Your fingers, though stained with ink, are steady. Your eyes, accustomed to the finest details, can trace the life of a saint in a space no bigger than your thumbnail. Here, in this controlled, quiet world of pigment and prayer, you're not clumsy. Here, you have purpose. Before you apply the ink, you run a finger over the vellum, feeling the cool, almost invisible texture left by the pounce, a fine powder made of crushed bone, which keeps the ink from feathering. It's a small, secret step that ensures perfection. But something is wrong. For 3 days, a sound has been missing, and its absence is heavier than any silence. The rhythmic, reassuring clang, clang, clang from the forge across the main courtyard has vanished. Brother John, the blacksmith, is a man whose work is the very heartbeat of this monastery. He mends the plows, shoes the horses, forges the hinges for the heavy oak doors. His fire is never supposed to go out. The quiet feels like a held breath, a pause in the monastery's soul. You try to push the thought away, focusing on the curve of a letter D, but the silence is a persistent hum beneath the surface of the room. Historians still discuss just how many monks could truly read the complex Latin they were copying, but you read the words, the sounds, and the silences, and this silence is unsettling. Suddenly, a young novice, Brother Michael, appears at your side, his face pale. "Brother Thomas," he whispers, his voice trembling slightly, "the abbot requires your presence." A sudden, unfamiliar weight settles in your stomach. The abbot rarely summons you. Your work is your report. You are the quiet one, the artist, not the council keeper or the diplomat. You carefully place your brush in a pot of water, cover your ink, and rise. Your knees crackle in protest. Following the novice, you step out of the dim, book-scented scriptorium and into the gray, windswept light of the courtyard. The wind bites at your cheeks, a stark contrast to the still air of your workspace. It carries the scent of damp earth and stone, and still no smoke rises from the forge's chimney. Its dark, heavy door remains shut tight. You arrive at the abbot's study, a room that always seems colder than the rest of the monastery, despite the small fire in the hearth. Abbot Philip is a man carved from oak, his face a roadmap of worries and responsibilities. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries. "Brother John is gone," he says, his voice low and gravelly. He explains that the blacksmith's bed is unslept in, his few personal items vanished. He has simply disappeared, leaving behind only his tools and the cold, silent anvil. You stand there, bewildered. What does this have to do with you? You can mix a perfect lapis lazuli blue, but you can't swing a hammer heavier than a book. "I want you to find out what happened," the abbot continues, his eyes locking onto yours. "Go to the forge. See what you can find. Brother John was secretive. Perhaps he left a sign for eyes as sharp as yours. Felt as logical as asking the monastery's horse to translate Greek. You, a painter of saints, are being sent to investigate the secrets of a blacksmith. The call has been made, and your quiet, orderly world has just been turned completely upside down." The abbot's words hang in the cold air of the study, each one a stone dropped into the quiet pool of your life. 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea bloom in your mind. You who once dropped a priceless pot of cochineal ink simply because a bee buzzed too close to the window. You whose idea of heavy lifting is carrying a stack of 3 freshly bound books. You stammer, the words catching in your throat. "But, Father Abbot, surely there is a mistake." Your voice is barely a whisper. "I am a scribe. I know of vellum and the delicate art of gilding. The forge is a place of fire and brute strength. I would not know where to begin. Brother Samuel worked with him sometimes, and Brother James is strong." You are pleading, hoping he will see the absurdity of his request, the sheer foolishness of sending a sheep to guard a dragon's den. You picture yourself in the forge, a small, ink-stained figure lost amidst giant tongs, hammers, and the great silent beast of the bellows. It's a comical, terrifying image. Abbot Philip listens patiently, his steepled fingers resting on his great oak desk. He does not sigh. He does not show impatience, but his eyes hold you fast. When you finish, the silence returns, deeper this time. "I have prayed on this, Thomas," he says, his voice calm and final, "and prayer so far has not mended the hinges on the granary door." A flicker of dry humor in his tone, as sharp and quick as a striking flint. "I did not ask for strength, I asked for perception. Brother John's hands were calloused and powerful, yes, but his mind was as intricate and complex as the knotwork you paint in the margins of your Gospels. He sought a kind of knowledge, a mastery over the elements, that our prayers alone could not grant. Strength will not solve this puzzle. A keen eye, an eye that sees the detail others miss, just might. He is not just giving you an order. He is telling you he sees a skill in you that you yourself have confined only to the scriptorium. He reaches into a drawer and pulls out a small, thick book, placing it on the desk between you. It is bound in dark, cracked leather, stained with soot and grease, and held shut by a simple leather tie. It is nothing like the pristine, holy books you spend your days creating. This object feels feral, wild. This was his, the abbot says, his journal. He gestures for you to take it. Hesitantly, you reach out. The leather is cool and slightly greasy under your fingertips, and the book has a surprising weight. You untie the strap and open it. The pages are not clean vellum, but rough, thick paper filled with chaos. There are sketches of gears and strange-looking tools, yes, but also diagrams that look less like blacksmithing and more like astronomy, or the strange coded symbols of an alchemist's formula. There are mathematical calculations in the margins and lines of text written in a cramped, hurried hand. Historians debate the extent to which medieval artisans like blacksmiths were literate, but this was the work of a man who thought in a language all his own. You flip through the pages, a growing sense of dread mixed with an undeniable spark of curiosity. It's a mess, but it's a structured mess. There's a pattern to the madness that tickles at the edge of your scribe's mind. Mixed in with drawings of plowshares and horseshoes are impossible-looking designs. A metal bird with intricate articulated wings, a complex series of interlocking rings, a lock with no visible keyhole. It is both a blacksmith's ledger and a dreamer's diary. It would be easier to decipher a conversation between two bats. He was working on something, the abbot says softly, seeing the look on your face. Something important, I think. He was agitated the last few weeks. The abbot then pushes a small, slender piece of charcoal across the desk towards you. It's the kind you use for preliminary sketches on practice parchment. Take this. Do what you do best, Thomas. Observe. Record. See the world through your own eyes, not through the eyes of a blacksmith you are not. The message is clear. He is not asking you to become Brother John. He is asking you to be Brother Thomas, but in a new, terrifying place. Your fear is still there, a cold knot in your stomach, but now it has company, the faintest glimmer of purpose. This is not a task of muscle, but of interpretation. It is a text of a sort, a very strange, very dirty text. You close the journal, the rough paper whispering against your skin, and give the abbot a single, solemn nod. You take the charcoal pencil. Your refusal has failed. The mentor has given you your tools. There is nowhere to go now but forward. You walk out of the abbot's study and back into the courtyard, clutching the heavy, grease-stained journal to your chest as if it were a shield. The wind seems to have picked up, pulling at the edges of your woolen robe, whispering things you don't want to hear. You glance back over your shoulder, just for a moment, at the tall, arched windows of the scriptorium on the other side of the cloister. Light spills from them, a warm, golden promise of peace and order. It feels a world away now, a life that belonged to someone else. Every step you take toward the squat stone building at the edge of the monastery grounds feels like a step into exile. The forge. It has no elegant windows, only a low, heavy door of dark oak, strapped with iron that Brother John himself had likely hammered into shape. The handle is a simple, heavy iron ring, unforgivingly cold to the touch. You stand before it, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. This is it, the threshold. You murmur a quick prayer, less for guidance and more for simple courage, and pull the heavy door open. The first thing that hits you is the change in temperature, a deep, cellar-like cold that seems to seep through your robes. Then comes the smell. It's overwhelming, a physical presence in the air. This is the sharp, biting smell of cold iron, the dusty ghost of burnt coal, and an undercurrent of something acrid, like old sweat and sour beer. It's the smell of elemental power, of earth and fire gone dormant. The second thing is the darkness. After the gray light of the courtyard, the forge is a cavern of deep shadow. The only illumination is the rectangle of pale light from the open door, a single dusty sunbeam cutting through the gloom. It catches the million dancing motes of dust and soot you've disturbed, a swirling galaxy of grit. As your eyes slowly, painfully adjust, shapes begin to emerge from the blackness like creatures waking from a long slumber. There, in the center of the room, is the anvil. It sits on a huge log stump, solid and imposing, a dark altar in this forgotten temple. To its side, a massive wooden tub of black, still water, the quenching tank, its surface reflecting the sliver of light from the door, and against the far wall looms the heart of the forge itself, the great stone hearth, its chimney rising up like a throat into the darkness above. Its belly is full of gray ash and dead coals. Historians might see it as the centerpiece of a vital medieval industry, but to you, it looks like the maw of a sleeping dragon. You can almost feel the profound cold radiating from it. You take a tentative step inside, the door groaning shut behind you, plunging you into near total darkness for a moment, before the high, grimy window offers up its meager light. The silence is absolute. It is a heavy, weighted silence, a physical presence that presses in on your ears. In the scriptorium, silence was peace. Here, silence is a void, a profound and unnatural absence of the roaring fire, the wheezing of the great leather bellows, the hiss of steam, and the constant life-affirming rhythm of the hammer. You touch a workbench, and your fingers, so used to the smooth surface of vellum, come away black. Without thinking, you wipe them on your robe, leaving a disastrous dark smear. You wince. The monks in charge of the laundry were going to be petitioning the saints for your soul after this. Your eyes trace the tools hanging from racks on the walls. They are alien, brutal, tongs with long jaws like metallic herons, hammers with faces fat and flat or narrow and pointed, chisels and punches and drifts, all cold and silent. You think of your own tools, brushes made from the fine hairs of a squirrel's tail, a polished shell for holding your gold leaf, a penknife for scraping away your tiny errors. The contrast is dizzying. Near the anvil, you see 2 lengths of iron bar, their ends hammered and scarred. You wonder at the process you've only heard whispers of, forge welding, where a smith could heat 2 pieces of metal to a blinding sun-like brightness and hammer them together until they became one seamless piece. It seemed less a craft and more a form of sorcery. Standing here, in this silent shadow-filled room, you are firmly on the side of dark arts. You spot a small 3-legged stool near the hearth, miraculously less grimy than everything else. You pull it to the center of the room, near the anvil, and sink onto it, the weight of the task settling upon you. You are in the belly of the beast, alone. You place the mysterious journal on your lap, its rough cover a strange comfort in this place of hard, cold metal. You pull out the simple piece of charcoal the abbot gave you. It feels familiar in your hand, a small piece of your old world in this new, intimidating one. You take a deep, steadying breath, the dusty air filling your lungs. The journey has truly begun. You sit there for what feels like an eternity, the charcoal pencil inert in your hand, the journal's cryptic pages staring back at you like a series of impossible riddles. The sheer otherness of the place, of the task, threatens to swallow you whole. But then, a thought, small and sharp as the tip of a needle, pierces the fog of your fear. You are a scribe. You do not read, you decipher. You look not just at words, but at the space around them, at the balance of the page, the flow of the design. You take a breath, the grit in the air now strangely familiar, and you begin to work. You unroll the small sheet of spare parchment you brought with you and start to copy the symbols from the journal, not trying to understand them yet, but simply to organize them. You are bringing the order of the scriptorium into the chaos of the forge. Days begin to blur into a new rhythm, one dictated not by the monastery bells, but by the rising and setting of the sun through the forge's single grimy window. You categorize the symbols. A strange, spiky circle seems to appear next to any drawing related to the bellows. A symbol, like 3 stacked lines, is always present in sketches of tongs and hammers. A complex star-like shape is reserved for the wild, impossible designs. The metal bird, the keyless lock. You're not reading the language, but you are learning its grammar. The work is slow, painstaking, and deeply lonely. Your robes are perpetually smudged with soot, and there is a permanent black crescent of grime under your fingernails. You are no longer just Brother Thomas, the illuminator. You are becoming something else, a shadow-haunting creature of the forge. This transformation does not go unnoticed. Your place in the refectory, the great hall where the brothers eat their silent communal meals, feels larger now, the space around you charged with curiosity and suspicion. One evening, as you reach for your portion of coarse bread and pottage, you overhear Brother Samuel, a burly man who works the monastery's fields, whispering to another monk, "Look at him. The abbot has him chasing ghosts in the smithy." The other, a stonemason, snorts. "He'll be trying to illuminate the anvil next, wasting his time and the abbot's." Their words are small, sharp stones, and they find their mark. You feel your breath catch in your throat, and you focus on the simple weight of the wooden spoon in your hand, a small anchor in a sea of judgment. Their whispers feed the gnawing voice of doubt in your own heart, the one that tells you this is all a fool's errand. One evening, you are slumped on your stool, the journal open but your eyes unfocused, defeated by a diagram of such complexity it seems to mock you. The loneliness of the forge is a palpable weight. You're just about to give up for the night when a flicker of movement catches your eye. A cat, sleek and black as shadow, slips through a small gap where the door doesn't quite meet the frame. It is thin, with a torn ear and eyes the color of polished jade. It stops and watches you, utterly still. In a place where you feel constantly judged, its gaze is simply watchful, neutral. You remain quiet, and after a long moment, it seems to deem you harmless. It pads silently over to a pile of discarded leather aprons in a corner and curls into a perfect dark circle, its tail tucked neatly around its nose. Its quiet, non-judgmental presence is a tiny, warm weight in the vast, cold emptiness of the forge. You do not move for a long time, simply breathing in the quiet company. The next day, you leave a small piece of your bread near the door. The day after, you manage to procure a small saucer of milk from the kitchens, earning a strange look from the cook. The cat, your silent partner, begins to wait for you. Its presence becomes a new quiet rhythm in your day. It never makes a sound, but its companionship is a balm. One afternoon, as you stare at a particularly frustrating page, getting a smear of charcoal on your nose in your agitation, the cat hops silently onto the bench beside you. It looks at the page, then at you, then leans forward and bumps its head, firmly and deliberately, against your hand. The surprising warmth and the soft pressure of the gesture is a small miracle. It is a sign that you are not entirely alone in this. With a newfound resolve, you turn back to the page. You have an ally. The work can continue. With your feline companion a silent, watchful shadow, you return to the journal with a new clarity. You are no longer just looking for words or symbols. You're looking for secrets. You decide to focus on the drawings that seem most out of place, the ones that don't depict everyday objects. Your eyes fall upon a sketch you had previously dismissed as a simple study, a detailed drawing of the anvil itself. To a casual observer, it's just a rendering of the tool. But you are not a casual observer. Your eyes are trained to see the ghost of a line, the subtle variation in pressure, and you see it. Faintly, almost invisibly rendered, are lines within the drawing of the massive oak log that serves as the anvil's base. And there, tucked away near the bottom, is that small, familiar star-like symbol, the one you now know signifies Brother John's most secret projects. You rise from your stool and approach the anvil, the great silent heart of the forge. It feels like sacrilege to even touch it. Anvils were immensely valuable, the soul of the smithy. The idea that this one held a secret felt profane. Your cat, whom you've taken to calling Soot, watches from its perch on the leather aprons, head cocked. You run your hands over the rough timber, feeling the gouges and splinters of a century of hard labor. You feel nothing out of the ordinary. The mocking whispers of the other monks echo in your mind. Chasing ghosts, they'd said. Perhaps they were right, but the drawing was too precise. You get down on your hands and knees, ignoring the grime that coats your robe, and clear away the thick layer of dirt and coal dust at the base of the log. And then you see it, a seam, so fine it's almost invisible, matching the lines in the journal, and near it, a small recessed notch, no bigger than your thumb. It's not a handle. You push at it, but the wood is unyielding. You try to pry it with your fingers, but you only get a splinter for your troubles. It's sealed tight. Defeated, you sit back on your heels. But then your mind flashes back to the journal. Next to the drawing of the anvil was a sketch of another tool you'd seen hanging on the wall, a long, thin iron bar with a strangely shaped hook at its end. You'd assumed it was some kind of specialized poker. You retrieved the tool. It's heavier than it looks, cold and awkward in your hands. You fit the hooked end into the notch at the base of the log. It clicks into place, a perfect fit. This is the key. You take a deep breath and lean into it, using the bar as a lever. For a moment, there is only the unyielding weight of the timber. You set your jaw, grip the bar, and put every ounce of your strength into it. Your muscles ache with a deep, heavy strain. Then, with a low, groaning complaint of wood against wood, something gives. A section of the log base, a hidden door, swings inward, revealing a dark, hollow space within. A wave of dry, ancient air, smelling of old wood and forgotten secrets, washes over you. This is not a hiding place for gold or stolen relics. This is a graveyard of dreams. The hollow is filled with the evidence of Brother John's secret life. Pieces of twisted metal, gears that don't quite mesh, the mechanism of a lock that has been smashed with a hammer blow of pure frustration. These are his failures, and nestled in the very center, resting on a bed of carefully folded clean wool cloth, is the treasure. It is the half-finished metal bird from the journal. You reach in with a trembling hand. It is cool to the touch and surprisingly light. The body is elegantly shaped, and one wing, a masterpiece of tiny interlocking plates and pins, is attached. It's a work of breathtaking artistry, and you understand that Brother John was not just a blacksmith or an artist. He was a pursuer of forbidden mechanics, a dreamer of alchemical life. You have found his soul, hidden away in the dark. You kneel in the dusty darkness of the forge, the cool, smooth metal of the unfinished bird resting in your palms. In this single, secret object, you feel the weight of another man's soul, his ambition, his frustration, his genius. The silence of the forge no longer feels empty. It feels full of his presence, his unspoken thoughts. But as you carefully place the bird back into its cloth-lined nest within the anvil, the world outside begins to change. The sky through the high, grimy window darkens to a bruised purple. The world outside surrenders to the storm, the sounds of wind and rain merging into a single, continuous, rushing hum. Soot, your feline companion, abandons his comfortable pile of leather and leaps silently up to a high, dry rafter, his green eyes wide and watchful. Then it comes. The forge is silently painted in a brilliant bone-white light for a heartbeat, followed not by a crack, but by a deep, resonant rumble that vibrates through the stone floor, a sound you feel in your chest. Muffled, urgent calls drift from the courtyard, voices almost lost in the great, washing sound of the rain. Then a new sound begins, the dull, insistent tolling of the alarm bell, a somber pulse beneath the storm's rhythm. Something is terribly wrong. You secure the hidden compartment, the groaning wood a whisper beneath the thunder, and race to the door. Pushing it open, you are met with a wall of wind and driving rain. Across the courtyard, monks are running, their dark robes plastered to their bodies. You see Abbot Philip near the main gatehouse, his usual stoicism replaced by a grim urgency, as he shouts orders that are snatched away by the wind. You run out into the deluge, the cold rain a shock to your system. As you get closer, you see the source of the chaos. The ancient oak tree that stood guard by the gate has been savaged. A massive, splintered limb has crashed down onto the monastery's main defense, the great iron portcullis. Several of the thick iron bars are bent into grotesque shapes, and more critically, one of the massive hinges has been torn from the stonework. The gate is jammed, stuck halfway open, an open wound in the monastery's defenses. In these uncertain times, an unsecured gate is an invitation to disaster. Everyone is looking at the damage, helpless. Brother Samuel is there, his powerful arms useless against the twisted iron. The abbot's eyes scan the crowd and find you standing there dripping and shivering. His gaze is heavy. The gate must be mended, he yells over the wind, before the dawn. Every head turns, first to the dark, silent forge, and then to you. The moment is crushingly heavy. All of your theories, your copied symbols, your quiet study of a dead man's journal, it all comes down to this. This is no longer an investigation. It is a trial. Can it be done? The abbot asks. And it is not a question. It is a command. The fear is a cold fire in your gut. You have never held a hammer with intent. You have never commanded the fire. But then you look at the broken gate, a symbol of your entire community's vulnerability. You think of the metal bird hidden and waiting. You take a slow, steadying breath, the rain-chilled air filling your lungs. You hear yourself speak, your voice thin but clear over the storm. I will try. You turn and walk back to the forge, the weight of every soul in the monastery on your shoulders. You are no longer Thomas the scribe. You are the blacksmith. You kneel before the cold, dead hearth, take the flint and steel from the pouch on the wall, and strike. A single, tiny orange spark flies into the darkness. The ordeal has begun. That first spark is a tiny, defiant star in the overwhelming darkness. But a spark is not a fire. Your hands, accustomed to the delicate dance of a brush, are clumsy and tremble with cold and fear. You work the flint and steel again and again, sending showers of fleeting light into the damp kindling, which stubbornly refuses to catch. Failure laps at the edges of your resolve. You are a scribe. You are a painter. You are going to let your entire community down. You are about to slump back in defeat when an image from the journal flashes in your mind, a cross-section of the hearth with small arrows indicating the flow of air. It needs to breathe. You frantically rearrange the tinder and small pieces of wood, creating a small channel for air. You strike the flint again. A spark catches a dry edge of moss, a tiny flame wavers, and then greedily it bites into a twig. It lives. Gently, carefully, you nurture it, adding larger pieces of kindling, then the dense, dark charcoal. Now for the bellows. The great leather lungs of the forge are stiff and heavy. Your first few pulls on the long handle are weak, pathetic. You realize you must use your entire body, finding a rhythm, a rocking motion that puts your weight into every pull and release. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The air blasts into the hearth, and with a deep roar, the fire blooms to life, a hungry, breathing flower of orange and yellow that pushes back the shadows and begins to radiate a blessed warmth into the cold forge. Brother Samuel and two novices appear at the door and help you drag the massive, twisted section of the portcullis into the light of the fire. As you gesture for them to lay it by the hearth, you see something new in Samuel's eyes. The mockery is gone, replaced by a grudging astonishment. You point to the section that needs to be heated, your hand surprisingly steady. You must judge the temperature by color alone, reading the language of light in the heart of the fire. The work begins, a new hypnotic rhythm. The roar of the fire, the wheezing bellows, and now the clang of your hammer on the anvil. You find the rhythm, the hammer feeling less like a foreign object and more like an extension of your will. You heat the bars, pull them glowing onto the anvil, and hammer them straight. But the true test is the hinge, torn and broken. It requires a forge weld. Your first attempt is a quiet failure. The metal, instead of joining, simply crumbles into a cascade of fading orange embers. Despair washes over you. You look over at Soot, who is watching from the rafters. You take a breath, remembering Brother John's notes about patience, about watching the sweating of the metal just before it is ready. You try again. You heat the two ends of the broken hinge, watching, until they shimmer and sparkle with a blinding sun-like light. You pull them to the anvil and strike, a clean, solid blow. Then another. They stick, they fuse, They become one. The weld holds. As the storm outside finally weeps itself to exhaustion, you and the other monks carry the mended gate sections back through the mud. By the first gray light of dawn, the portcullis is rehung, strong and secure. Your brothers look at you with a new kind of silence, one not of judgment, but of awe. Brother Samuel simply places a heavy hand on your shoulder, a gesture that says more than words ever could. You have faced the fire and won, but your ordeal is not over. An impulse you don't understand pulls you back into the warm, glowing forge. You open the secret compartment and take out the unfinished bird and its detached wing. The fire is a deep, perfect bed of orange embers. Fueled by a strange energy, a creative fire that matches the one in the hearth, you begin to work again. This time, the work is not brutal, but delicate. As the sun's rays finally cut through the grimy window, you attach the second wing to the body. You hold it up. The metal bird, complete, its wings perfectly articulated. It is your reward, your trophy, the true thing you have seized from the night's fire. The new sun casts long, gentle fingers of light through the grimy window, illuminating the swirling dust and your finished creation. The metal bird sits in your hands, a perfect, impossible thing of iron and artistry. You are so bone-weary that your vision swims, but your mind is sharp and clear. In the crucible of the storm, something inside you was melted down and reforged. The forge is quiet now, save for the soft, sleepy crackle of the dying embers. The heavy door creaks open, and you turn, expecting one of the novices. But it is Abbot Philip, standing silhouetted against the bright morning light. His eyes do not go to the tools scattered on the floor or the great anvil. They go to you and to the metal bird you are holding. A long moment of silence passes between you. He walks slowly forward. He stops before you and looks at the bird. There is no surprise on his face, only a deep, quiet understanding. "I see you have finished his work," the abbot says, his voice low. "And in doing so, you have begun your own." The words confuse you. You hold up the bird. His work? But Father Abbot, where is he? What happened to Brother John? "Brother John is not lost, Thomas," the abbot says, a faint, wry smile touching his lips. "He has been promoted." He explains that Brother John's unique talents, his pursuit of a perfection that combined mechanics with something more, had reached the ears of the master builders of the great new cathedral in the north. They offered him a forge and resources beyond the monastery's means, a stage worthy of his secrets. He left willingly, but secretly, a humble man who feared his ambition would be misunderstood. There is, the abbot notes, a lively debate even among theologians about the role of personal ambition within a life sworn to humility. You stare at the abbot, a wave of quiet, weary disbelief washing over you. "So," you say, your voice barely a whisper, "the ordeal, the storm, it was an audition." For the first time since you have known him, the abbot's stern face breaks into a genuine small smile. "Yes," he says, "in a way." He then looks you in the eye, his expression turning serious again. "I did not need you to find Brother John, Thomas. I needed to find you. I saw the same meticulous artistry in your illuminated letters that I saw in his private work. I did not want another brute to simply hammer out nails. I wanted an artist." He gestures to the scriptorium visible across the courtyard. The road back is open to you. Your desk is there. Your old life is ready to take you back, and no one would think less of you. He then turns his hand to the forge around them, the hearth, the anvil, the waiting tools. Or this can be your new scriptorium. The work is harder. It is a world of soot and sweat. But the fire, he says, his voice dropping to a near whisper, can give life to things that vellum can only ever imitate. He has laid the choice before you. Not a test from God, but a choice from a man who saw something in you that you never saw in yourself. You look down at your hands. They are blistered, stained, and strong. You look at the bird, a thing of impossible grace born of fire and force. You have already walked the road back from the ordeal, but where you go now is an entirely different journey. You stand in the quiet dawn of your new life, the weight of the metal bird in one hand, the weight of the abbot's choice in the other. He offers you a path back to the clean, quiet, predictable world of the scriptorium, a life that now feels like a story written about someone else. You look at the bird, then at the anvil. You gently place the bird on the great scarred log base of the anvil, not in the secret compartment, but out in the open, for all to see. A sigil, a statement. You turn back to the abbot, take a slow, steadying breath, and speak, your voice rough but clear. Father Abbot, the hinges on the main book press in the scriptorium are weak. They squeak. I should see to them. This simple, practical statement is your answer. You are no longer thinking about illustrating the word, but about building the world that contains it. The abbot gives a single, slow nod, a profound look of satisfaction on his face. He has planted a seed in the most unlikely soil, and it has blossomed. Without another word, he turns and leaves you, the master of your new domain. The scribe named Thomas died in the storm. Today, the blacksmith is born. The seasons turn, and the forge is no longer silent. The rhythmic clang of the hammer on the anvil is once again the steady heartbeat of the monastery, but it sounds different now. It is not the sound of a man hiding from the world, but of a man building it. You are stronger now, your shoulders broader, your hands a roadmap of scars and calluses that have replaced the ink stains. You move with a new confidence, a sureness of purpose, and you are not alone. The great door of the forge is now almost always propped open, and the light and air and life of the monastery spill inside. One afternoon, young Brother Michael, the same novice who first summoned you, stands before the anvil, a hammer held awkwardly in his hands. He is your apprentice. You stand beside him, your hand gently guiding his. No, not with your arm, with your whole body. You explain patiently. Feel the weight of the hammer, but do not fight it. Let it become part of your own rhythm, like breathing. A spark flies and he flinches. You smile. That is the first lesson. The anvil does not move. Your foot does. It is always wise to remember which is which. Later, you show him the metal bird, which now sits proudly on a shelf above the hearth. The same fire that makes a hinge strong, you tell him, can also make a feather delicate. The knowledge is the same, only the intent is different. Brother John's journal was his private book of secrets, but you have chosen not to have a secret book. Your forge has become a living one. Brother Samuel comes in not with whispers of mockery, but with a broken hoe, and the two of you sketch out a new, better design in charcoal on the stone floor. The dark arts of the forge have been brought into the light. The elixir you have brought back to your world is not a thing of magic, but something far more powerful. The understanding that art and utility, mind and hand, prayer and work, are not separate paths. they are one. You look up from your work at the anvil. Soot, the cat, is sleeping in a warm patch of sunlight by the open door. The sound of your hammer rings out, a clear, strong note in the afternoon air. It is the steady, peaceful breath of the monastery itself, a sound of strength, creation, and quiet purpose. Final calming section. And so, the hammer's rhythm begins to soften, its sharp report fading into a gentle, steady beat, like a distant, peaceful heart. The brilliant orange glow of the forge cools, mellowing into the soft, warm color of a lingering sunset. The day's work is done. The tools are cleaned and placed back in their racks, silent and resting. The great anvil, having sung its song of iron and fire, now stands in the quiet twilight, its surface smooth and cool to an imaginary touch. The air in the forge is no longer thick with smoke and effort, but settles into a comfortable, dusty calm, carrying the faint metallic scent of a job well done, a purpose fulfilled. Thomas, the blacksmith, wipes his hands, the day's labor finished, and steps out into the evening. The sky above the monastery is a deep, velvety blue, pricked with the first shy stars. The world is safe, the gate is strong, and a profound peace settles over the ancient stone walls. Breathe in that cool evening air. The only sounds now are the gentle rustle of leaves in the cloister garden, the impossibly distant hoot of an owl, and the soft whisper of your own slow, steady breathing. You can feel the tension of the day, the heat of the fire, the weight of the hammer, all melting away now, replaced by a wonderful, heavy sense of release. Your own body feels heavy in the most pleasant way, your limbs loose and ready for rest, your mind quiet and uncluttered. The story is told, the journey is complete. The young, uncertain scribe found his strength not in his hands, but in his heart, and in his willingness to see the world in a new way. He is at peace now, and so are you. Feel that same sense of peace settling over you like the softest, warmest blanket you can imagine. You are safe. You are secure. There are no gates to mend, no storms to endure. There is only this quiet, this calm, this gentle descent into a deep and restful sleep. Your own work for the day is done. Your only task now is to let go, to drift, to sink into the comfortable weight of your bed, knowing you are being carried to a place of perfect rest and happy dreams. You've reached the end of another cozy, nappy tale. Sleep well, and remember, you're always welcome here.